Hi everyone, I'm Chef Steve and welcome to Steve Cooks Stuff. Got a couple really fun, delicious recipes ready to go for you today that I want to teach you. Today we're going to be making French onion meatballs over white rice, and we're going to be making my bacon pan-seared Brussels sprouts that'll have some other fixings mixed in there. We'll put them all together, have a nice little meatball dish with a side of Brussels sprouts. I'm going to get things started with the Brussels sprouts. I've got all my ingredients laid out here. We're of course going to start with our best friend bacon. And with bacon like this, I've got 3 slices and I'm just going to make them about 1 inch thick. I've got my cast iron pan here from Lodge heating up perfectly. It's on about a medium high. So when this bacon hits the pan, you're going to hear it sizzle. And I just keep them stacked together like this because they'll start to separate as soon as they start to heat up. You hear that? They'll start to separate pretty quick. I'm going to wash my hands real quick. You always want to make sure and wash your hands in between, touching any type of meat, poultry, protein, etc., to avoid any kind of contamination on your food and surfaces. All right, so this bacon is already off and running. Got a good sizzle going. I'm going to add just a splash of olive oil. Usually don't need it, but I kind of play it by ear usually. This seems to be sticking a little bit, so we'll use that to loosen it up a bit. Now, these pieces are already starting to come apart. We've got a nice little bit of bacon fat moving around in here. So now I want to go ahead and I want to add, I've got some chopped yellow onion, about 1/4 cup. We'll get that in there. Start letting that render down with the bacon. Just like so. And as I turn them, the pieces of bacon are starting to separate. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm going to follow it up with some fresh chopped garlic. Let's go about 1 tablespoon or so. I'm a fan of garlic. Can't really have too much of it in my opinion, but I guess you could have too much of it, but I'm kind of a 50 shades of garlic kind of guy, if you know what I mean. I'll take it any way I can get it like that. All right, this is looking good. All of our bacon is starting to render a little bit. It's all broken apart. Now I'm just going to mix in my Brussels sprouts. Now these are, of course, washed and cleaned, and I cut them into quarters lengthwise. So each one is 1/4 of a Brussels sprout. It still has the base of the stem intact. So that, as they bake, they generally stay together. With a dish like this though, it's okay. As they cook and they start to wilt down, they're gonna kind of, some of the leaves will fall apart and they'll have their own little character to them when it's all said and done. Okay, so that's it. All I wanna do at this point is look and make sure that all of the Brussels sprouts look like they're essentially wet. Of course, the wetness is the olive oil and the bacon fat. So they're all looking pretty good there. Before we go into the oven, I'm going to add a little bit of smoked paprika. We'll say probably about 1 teaspoon. And then a little bit of this Kinder's Blend, which is their salt, pepper, and garlic. Just a little bit of that. One final toss. Everything is looking coated. The seasoning is getting all mixed around over everything. And now what I want to do, I've got my oven preheated to 400 degrees. I'm going to throw this in the oven for 10 minutes. At 10 minutes, I'm going to pull it. I'm going to give it a stir, back in for another 10. It'll be ready in about 20 to 25 and we'll take a look. I'm going to throw this in the oven. We'll be right back and we'll get those meatballs started. Okay, hello everyone, we are back. We've got our Brussels sprouts in the oven. I've already kind of started working on this French onion meatball dish. Reason being, could be a little bit timely as far as the onion part goes, but let me catch you up to where we are. What I did was I've got a pretty good size, really the largest yellow onion I can find, and I cut it into long strips lengthwise because I want the onions to be just as long strips as we can. Cut them lengthwise, threw them in this cast iron with a couple tablespoons of butter and a couple tablespoons of olive oil and garlic, and they've just been simmering now for about 15 minutes. So what I'm looking for is for them to get this kind of brownish color, which they are. They're perfect, they're ready to go. So at this point, what I want to do is add a tablespoon of flour and start to mix that around quickly until it starts to disappear. And mixing in, disappear meaning kind of mixing in with the onions. And then almost immediately after that, we're already ready to go. I want to start adding in 1 or 2 cups of beef broth. And what's going to happen is the flour that we just added that's on the onions is going to be used to thicken this up into kind of a French onion gravy. I'm going to put that much in right now. We got about 1.5 cups in. Brought my heat up. I want to bring this up to a boil and then lower it back down. And I'm going to add in some fresh thyme. Thyme is really that herb that, when you think about a French onion soup, it's the main herb that kind of comes out, you know, the flavor of it. And so it has to be in here because these are French onion meatballs. So we're essentially making like a French onion soup, but we're adding some meatballs with it. Okay, this is coming up to a boil already. So that's a good thing. Now these meatballs, what I bought here, these are just store-bought frozen meatballs. I took them out earlier in the day, so they're basically thawed out. They're pretty much ready to go. You could make your own meatballs. Sometimes I do. Certainly if I'm doing this dish for an event, I make meatballs. Sometimes I make them a little bit larger. This is a dish that, by the time everything gets cooked together, these meatballs are going to taste delicious either way. And this is a dish that you can do, you know, for a weeknight dinner after work. Get it ready. It's something you can make one night and have it for lunch the next day. And so you don't, you know, as far as the meatballs go, it's up to you if you want to use fresh ones. I do sometimes. Today I'm just going to use these store-bought ones. So as this broth here is starting to thicken, I'm going to start adding in my meatballs so they can start getting coated in. Just going to dump them in. How about that? So these can start getting coated in the broth as it's thickening. I just want to kind of push them down so that there's a nice layer. They're going to start heating through, and as the sauce is thickening. Okay, so where we are now is this is going to simmer for about another 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to keep an eye on it as it starts to thicken. Once it gets to the consistency I want of thickness, I'm going to take this smoked Gruyere cheese, layer it on top, and throw it in the oven. At the same time, I'm pulling out the Brussels sprouts. So when I come back, we'll have this dish finished, ready to present. We'll have the Brussels sprouts ready to present. And hopefully you're drooling, foaming at the mouth, and waiting to try it yourself. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Everything's out of the oven. The ovens are off and cooling down, and we've got our finished dishes right here to show you. I'm going to start over here with the Brussels sprouts. They look perfectly crisp. Some of them are crispy. They're all cooked very well. The bacon, you know, once I turned it halfway through, stirred that bacon up, so the bacon's crispy. I added at the halfway point, at 10-minute mark, I did throw in some shallots, just finely chopped shallots, just to add a little extra of that pungent onion taste. Right here I've got some dried cranberries. I'm going to sprinkle these in just for a little extra color and a little flavor. Then just a splash, like maybe a teaspoon of balsamic. And that's it. Now we give it a final stir from the bottom, mix it around. Oh, it smells delicious. Obviously the balsamic, once I put that on there, that came right up at me. But just everything, all the bacon, all the flavor we have in here, it smells delicious. So I'm gonna let that sit for a second. And now I'm gonna plate up some of these French onion meatballs. So here I've just got some regular brown rice. I didn't do anything fancy to it. Just a little butter and salt, because the star of the show are these meatballs, and there's plenty of flavor in those to carry this dish forward. So we'll start with a little bit of rice on the bottom. And as I said before we went out, we let the sauce thicken, had the meatballs surrounded, and added some Gruyere cheese, some smoked Gruyere cheese, along with a blend of regular Gruyere on there. Throw it under the broiler, and you can see it just got a nice, perfect browning on that, on top of those meatballs. The sauce, you can tell, is thickened in there. I'm gonna come over here and just put some of these meatballs down. Oh, they smell delicious. It literally just smells like French onion soup right now. If you're a fan of that, you might be a fan of this dish, and I encourage you to try it. Throw a couple more meatballs on there. And get some of this crispy cheese. Don't let it get away from me there. There we go. Just like that. Finish it off with a little bit of fresh thyme. Boom, there we go. Now I'm gonna plate the Brussels sprouts right alongside this, because why not? I'm gonna grab this. Actually, I'm gonna bring my pan over to this. It's all going in the pool together, right? So I'm gonna grab a big heaping spoonful of these Brussels sprouts, throw them in there, make sure I've got some of these cranberries. There's plenty of bacon in there. That's just a hearty bowl of deliciousness right there. Put another scoop in this one. As I mentioned, when I was cooking the Brussels sprouts, you know, some of them fall apart. You get like these little nice individual leaves. They almost wilt up like a spinach kind of a texture to them, while you still have the Brussels sprouts that have, you know, the base intact. So you're gonna get that nice texture crunch of the Brussels sprout that you like. Finish that off with a little bit of parm right on those Brussels sprouts. Let that melt in. So we've just got cheesy goodness here. We've got the Gruyere, we got the parm, we got all the flavor. These are the dishes. They are delicious. I hope that when you watch this episode today that you were inspired to try these dishes. If they look good to you, then give them a shout, give them a try. Put your own spin, especially on this Brussels sprout one. Add a few other veggies in there, add some different seasonings, do whatever you want, just have fun with it. I always encourage having fun with, you know, the food and the dishes. Making yourself happy, your family, your friends. Just create lovely food. And then we can all just be happy. And shoot me an email or a text, or does anyone email anymore? Shoot me hit me up on social media. There you go. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. You can find all that at stevecookstuff.com. These recipes will be there. All my other recipes will be there. And pretty soon there's a cookbook coming out with all these recipes as well. So stay tuned for that. Thanks again for joining. I really had a great time. I hope you enjoy the food. Hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.